Well, the message is something that I just discovered, sort of by being there. I had this backstage pass. I was very open with Jay-Z and others about the fact that I've never made a documentary before, and I didn't know many of the acts that were going to be on the bill, and they kind of said, well, exactly. It's an experiment. We're curious to see what you come up with. And I learned a hell of a lot, and it was fascinating. It was a great life experience. In fact, I wrecked my shoulder, and I still have to go to physiotherapy because I'm not usually a camera operator. But this was all hands on deck, and we could use every camera we could get. We sent crews, into all corners of the festival, following different storylines, different threads, different individuals, different groups, and and I was among them. But I had the honor of shooting Jay-Z, Kanye, Eddie Vedder, up close, watching them perform and trying to get some of those nuances on screen. I think again that's partly what Jay-Z was curious about, and it was fascinating. I didn't feel like I was working with him. He sort of offered the invitation. The only guideline really was he didn't want me to try to make the Jay-Z movie. He wanted it to be about the Made in America Festival, and he was very cooperative, and we did follow-up interviews with him later. But he wanted a record of this. I think it's something he's proud of, and I was fascinated by what I observed, and I hope people enjoyed what we came up with. I didn't really have to deal with the music rights. That was the production company and Radical Media, and they have a lot of experience making music documentaries. And so early on, as we identified the artists we wanted to use, that process began. I don't think there was anybody who turned us down, and it was. I think people when they reviewed the choices we were making or the interview pieces that I wanted to include, I think they saw that nobody was being exploited. There was just this sort of overview that was being offered audiences, and I think they seemed to appreciate the general approach. It happened so quickly that I didn't really have a time to think about it, which is probably why I went ahead and did it, because otherwise I think I would have talked myself out of it. But it just felt like an opportunity not to be missed, and I had a window where I could do it. It literally came together in less than a month before the festival, and I collected my ideas. Radical Media, I'd done a few little projects with in the past. I knew they had a lot of experience, and so I had a support system that I could count on. And I felt like I would learn a lot, and I did, and I enjoyed it, and I was sort of pleasantly surprised how much of my story sense I was able to apply to the movie. I mean, in the editorial choices, it was I was able to identify narratives that were interesting to me and build the movie around those. Well, I was as interested in a lot of ways in what a festival like this means to people who aren't necessarily artists, but are either living there, trying to make a living there. They're just influenced by an event like this. And so I was curious about that, and I wanted to explore it, and I was a little bit surprised by what I discovered, because I began to see a similar sort of link between some of the things that were being said by the artists and about the possibilities, what America meant, and what so many of the people behind the scenes were also feeling and saying. That surprised me, and it sort of became one of the central ideas in the movie. Certainly, there was an electricity as the crowd swelled during the course of the day, but because it was the first version, the first Made in America festival, there was I think there was a lot of anticipation, sort of dress rehearsal anxiety. or opening night kind of anxiety from everyone involved, including the ever cool Jay-Z, who had never really been involved in something like this, had an idea, but anytime you're taking a risk, you don't know what the outcome's going to be, and he is certainly a guy who is used to succeeding, but knows what disappointment is as well, and was hoping for the best with this.